Hey, what's up, Internet? Chef Plum, and thanks for joining me back on Plum Love Foods. And today we're going to talk about how to roast a pork loin, dude, pork is the jam, while retaining some fat for flavor. It's going to be the easiest thing you've ever seen, and when you retain that fat, it makes it delicious. So what we've got here is a piece of beautiful pork tenderloin from our friends at Butcher's Best, and you can see the marbling inside of this pork tenderloin. It looks fantastic. And I'll tell you what, this fat is what makes it so good. And a lot of times when you do a roast like this, if you just roast it in the pan in the oven, that stuff's going to all drip to the bottom, which works well if you're going to make a sauce, but it makes the pork a little bit tougher. So we're going to do this really easy and really simple. We've got our pork our pork loin piece. I have 1 clove of garlic, a little salt and pepper. This is a little white wine right here, just regular white wine, doesn't matter. Although I do believe if you're going to use wine to cook, use wine that you actually would drink. Don't buy the store-bought wines, the store, cooking wine. Don't do that. Get wine you actually would drink. And then here, a little bit of nondescript bourbon, but I can promise you it's a very good bourbon. So we're going to season this up, a little salt and pepper. I can't emphasize enough, guys, how important it is to season your food. If you don't season your food, it's kind of like eating some grass. And no one likes to eat grass. I don't like to eat grass. So we got nice salt and pepper coating there. Perfect. We're going to take our garlic clove, we're going to throw it, and then we're going to pick it back up. Not really. Take our garlic clove, we're going to smash it with our knife. Just give it a little bit of a rough chop. We don't need to mince here. We don't need to make, tiny little pieces of garlic, because the garlic itself is interesting. Because if you take garlic and you rub it on the bottom of your foot, in 1 hour, you'll taste it in your mouth. Try that at home. That's a fun date night activity. So we're just going to rub some garlic on there just like this. Nice and stick. You can see how the garlic kind of sticks in there. That's great. You can even press it down just a touch. That's really important. Now our oven is already warmed up to about 450 degrees. The next step we're going to do is we're going to sear this off all the way around in our saute pan, and then we're going to come back and put it in a pan. I'm going to show you when to put the liquids in and cover up the pan, because that's what's going to retain that fat for flavor. Let's go over to the saute station. So as you guys can see, we've got it nice and tied around, which is important to keep more evenness in the cooking and keep the meat from expanding too much. And it's nicely seasoned. The garlic is nicely pressed in there. We're actually going to drop it right in. There we go. To get that seasoning all the way around, the searing all the way around. So you can see the beautiful color we got on our pork roast there. It's a pork loin, like I said, out of hitting it in the pan. It's already nicely seasoned, so we're going to put it right here into our roasting pan. And then what I've got here, this is a little bit of shiitake mushrooms I had. I'm actually going to put these in here to cook with it. Now mushrooms, when you cook them in a braise, which is the technique that we're doing, it's going to kind of act like a sponge to absorb some of that fat, which is going to be great, I'm telling you. We're going to drop 2 bay leaves in there just to add a little extra flavor. And then we're actually going to give it a little shot of bourbon. Who doesn't like bourbon? Like I said, just a little shot of bourbon. Not a whole lot of bourbon. Just a little shot of bourbon. Little shot. Little shot. Okay, maybe it's more than a little shot. But bourbon's delicious. And I'm actually going to add a little bit of white wine also. That bourbon's going to add a little bit of vanilla hint in the background. The white wine's going to keep the moisture in there, as you can see. Everything's kind of in the pan there. We're not going to add any more seasoning to it yet as far as salt and pepper, because the nice loin has already been seasoned perfectly. So what we'll do is when we're done, if we're going to make a pan sauce out of the fat that's in here and out of the liquid that's in here, we'll season it at that point. But it's really important to know, with pork, and especially when you're doing a braising, too much salt can kill you. It can ruin the whole dish. So season it after the fact, which goes against things I normally say, season as you go. But when you come to braising, season at the end. Now, the most important thing here, you're going to have to make it as tight as possible. The moisture will be braised out of there if we don't have it seared nice and tight, and we'll lose all that moisture. When we lose the moisture, it'll burn. The fat will go away. It won't be very tasty because the fat will eventually burn. So let's make sure we seal it nice and tight. I know that's loud. Sorry, guys. We're going to squeeze the foil around the ends. Make your foil piece a little bit longer than you need so you have some room to squeeze it closed. All right. It's wrapped up nice and tight. It's been seared. It's been seasoned. And we have all of our liquid and ingredients in there. What we're going to do is we're going to take it right over here to the oven. The oven's already at about 450 or so. We're going to pop it in. Take about 20 minutes. We'll have a delicious pork roast that's retained a lot of fat for flavor. I'll be right back. All right, guys. So I got our pork roast out that we kept in the oven and cooked with all that moisture in there to retain some of that fat. And let me tell you what, you can look on there and see. It's unbelievable how much we retained in there, how soft it is, how moist and juicy it is. I can't wait to taste this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the strings off. As you can see, the strings did No damage to the pork, but it kept everything in good uniform there. Move this aside. We're going to take a little slice. I'm actually going to cut it right down the middle and take 2 slices from the middle to show you because it'll look great. Now, one of the things that would be great to have with this for a dinner, you could simply just take some potatoes. Throw some potatoes in the oven with a little bit of garlic, olive oil, salt, and pepper. And guess what? You have a nice side dish to go with this beautiful pork. Look at that. Oh my gracious. Come on now. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to put it right here. I've got some, this is the pan that we cooked it in right there. Those mushrooms we put in there to absorb some of that moisture. A little bit of that juice. Come on now. Pan juice right there on top of it. If you're not liking that after you make this dish, I don't know what to tell you. This is unbelievable. Look at here. Looks fantastic. I have a little bite for myself here to make sure we're in good shape. You always want to taste the food to check the seasonings. And I'm telling you what, guys. That bourbon was right there for you. I'm Chef Plum from PlumLoveFoods.com. And that is how you roast a pork loin and retain some fat for flavor. I'll see you next time. Not with any more of this, though. It's going to be all gone.